We're good for now as long as it's not a gas.
All right, you're looking at two screens right now. On your left, the White House, where the flag is being put to half-mast, obviously in solemn remembrance of those who were lost and injured here in Boston, the attacks during the marathon. On your right, an ongoing presser at Brigham and Women's Hospital, where there are still people in critical condition fighting for their lives. Let's listen in.
Really cooperative with the provider teams to really help us to take care of them. Amazing in how they handled the initial pain and the few minutes it took us to get that pain treated properly so they were comfortable. And I would say in terms of recollection, their recollection starts at the moment of the blast. They could tell you where they were, but then there's this event and everything after that. It was, for most of these patients, something that no human being could possibly be prepared for. And there was, I think, a tremendous amount of confusion in the area immediately after the blast. You know, I've never, ever been surprised by patients' resiliency. I think the more people are challenged, the more they rise. And I've seen many patients with critical illness and critical injuries, and still after 30 years of doing this, I'm still impressed with how they handle it. They were about half and half, male and female. The youngest patient was 16 years old and the oldest was 62. So characterizing these patients as critical means that they are still in a state where their health is in balance. So we will, when we consider them stable, we'll move them down from critical. So we would count these patients as critical patients. All of the amputations, the one amputation has occurred, and the two patients with threatened limbs are here at Brigham and Women's Hospital. In our Brigham and Women's Faulkner Hospital site, none of those patients were amputated. So it's really the presence of these projectiles from the blast really is a proximity issue. The closer they are to the source, the more likely they are to get hit with one of these. From a patient's perspective, it really doesn't make any difference. They're injured by the blast impact itself, and some of them have foreign bodies that were sent in that were things lying around on the street, and others have foreign bodies that were part of the device. But all of those patients, those foreign bodies can be removed, and they have the potential sometimes to damage blood vessels or damage nerves. So we had one patient who had a pellet go through an artery, and that artery had to be tied off. But in general, the patients wouldn't feel any different if they did or did not have this shrapnel in them.
Doctor, in terms of the hospital itself, heightened security, this is really
I think Aaron can take that one.
So the presence of law enforcement is really at the request of Boston Police Department. We have talked to our colleagues at the other area hospitals who have received patients. It's our understanding that there are armed law enforcement agents there really out of an abundance of caution to keep us all safe. And quite frankly, given that we don't know what's going on out there, we're happy to have them as long as they want to stay.
Was there a perceived threat at the time, or is it just precaution?
We were told there's no perceived threat at any of the institutions. It's just precautionary at this point. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit more about the time and nature of injuries from those who are not engaged or examined, but may have had functional or some such trauma?
So some of from the shrapnel perspective, some of the shrapnel injuries are actually pretty minor. They're pieces of metal embedded just a short distance under the skin and not near anything important. So those patients really, that piece of their care is quite simple. The patients who had the sort of non-shrapnel related injuries predominantly have fractures and have areas of their muscle and skin that has been destroyed or removed by the blast. So it's a matter for the surgeons now to salvage that area and then to do reconstructive surgery.
Background info. So go over again the numbers between which were
here at the Revere department?
We had 31 patients here at Brigham and Women's Hospital, of which 15 were admitted and 9 went to the operating room. 5 of those patients are in critical condition. At Brigham and Women's Faulkner Hospital, we had a total of 13 patients, 4 of whom went to the operating room and 1 of whom is critical.
Dr. Wells, I think I heard yesterday that you have one Thomas on duty that actually ends the process of calling these people in, get them informed how long these.
So we don't improvise when these kinds of things happen. We've drilled this a lot. We know how to do this. We have a standardized definition system that allows us to specify the level of response we need, and it goes out in an automated way to the people who should hear that message. And it tells them of the level of the ramp up that we're doing, and they know from that where they should report. And so yesterday, because it was during the day, we had additional staff on in any case because of the Boston Marathon, because we always get more patients, not this kind of patient, but we always get more patients in Marathon Day. So we had additional staff anyway. And because it was daytime, when we ramped up, we had virtually the entire trauma surgical service was in the emergency department working with us within.
I lost it. Come on. Well, we're no longer hearing that press conference. That was Brigham and Women's Hospital, but we did get the headline for it. I'm back here now with John Berman. This is the CNN way. We keep passing off one to the other to keep that team coverage going so we can get new reporting in as often as possible. Some of the headlines here that went on before you came back in was that they do believe that there were some foreign bodies that were exploded out of the device. Early on, ballistics and explosives guys were saying they didn't think these bombs were capable of that.
That's what doctors are saying now with 2 different hospitals. They're both saying that the scope of the injuries they've seen and literally the things they are pulling out of people indicate not just pieces from fences or trash cans that may be nearby, debris, but things that were inside the devices themselves. We're hearing that now from 2 sets of doctors at 2 different hospitals.
And a major headline, because there is sometimes in these situations, you know, somewhat of a tendency of certain media to extend, expand, to keep a story going. Here, from the doctors themselves who have every interest in mitigating the danger here. They can't say that people are out of the woods yet. We're saying this because we want you to understand it's not over. There are families who are struggling, people whose lives are still in the balance because of how serious these injuries were.
And the number is growing in terms of the number of people injured right now. The number I believe we have now is 176 people injured. That might just be because we're getting more current, better information, but not just the number that's growing. The number of people who are in serious or critical condition is also growing, and they are watching them very, very carefully. The care they are getting at this time, you know, some 20 hours after this event, is still crucial.
People sedated because of pain. They don't know what's going on with their minds yet, but we do know this for sure, John, and we've been reporting this. The response on the ground, the triage, the doctors made all the difference in terms of surviving this situation.
They save lives, there's no question. I talked to one doctor who was at the scene who said in some cases there were 4 doctors for every patient on the ground.
Well, that's the coverage for now. We're going to go to break. More on the investigation. JB will pick it up when we come back.